The angels watches over me when I lay down to sleep in my little old log cabin in the lane.
Fiddlin John Carson was born in North Georgia in 1868. At the time, William Shakespeare Hayes was a poet and author who lived in Louisville, Kentucky. In 1871, Hayes wrote the song, "The Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane." These two men would never meet, but their lives were destined to become entwined and connected in ways that neither man could have foreseen. By 1913, when the Georgia Old Time Fiddlers Convention was formed in Atlanta, Fiddlin John Carson was already a well-known figure among the elite of old-time fiddling. Having already won the yearly contest 4 times previously, John Carson was a well-known name in the Atlanta area. The Old Time Fiddlers Convention became a major yearly contest covered by newspapers and magazines who traveled to Atlanta from all over the nation to witness the big event. When Fiddlin John won the championship in 1914, it expanded his name and reputation far and wide across the eastern United States. Just a few years later, in 1922, WSB Radio in Atlanta launched one of the very first commercial radio stations in the entire nation. WSB opened for business on March 16, 1922, with a 100-watt tower located in the backyard of the Haight House on Highland Avenue near Atlanta. Just a week later, on March 23, 1922, Fiddlin John Carson walked into the WSB studio and announced to manager Lambden Kay that he would like to have a try at the newfangled contraption. Kay was only too happy to put the local star on the air. According to WSB Radio's historical website, Carson performed "The Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane" and played for some 3 hours until exhaustion set in. Carson was quickly recruited as a regular performer for WSB, and the audience response was overwhelming. Fiddlin John Carson soon became the very first country music star on the radio. During this time, an Atlanta furniture store owner named Polk C. Brockman had become a distributor for OK Records, which was based in New York City. In June of 1923, Brockman was making a trip to New York to meet with the label executives at OK Records to discuss a new distribution agreement. During those meetings, Brockman was asked if he knew of any artist in Atlanta that could justify a recording trip to Georgia. He recommended Fiddlin John Carson. As a result, recording engineer Ralph Peer was dispatched to Atlanta. On June 19, 1923, Peer set up his equipment in an empty storefront on Nassau Street near downtown Atlanta. It was far from ideal conditions, just an empty room. But Peer made the best of it. That day, Fiddlin John Carson recorded 2 songs, "The Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane," backed with "The Old Hen Cackled" and "The Rooster's Going to Crow." Polk C. Brockman ordered 500 copies of the recording, intending to sell them in his furniture store. OK Records dutifully filled Brockman's order, but did not think much of it at the time. They failed to assign a master number to the recording and did not even bother to place a label on the records. The very next month, in July of 1923, the recording quickly sold out from the stage of the Old Time Fiddlers Convention. To boot, Fiddlin John won the championship again that year. Thanks to the media attention garnered by his 6th championship win and his ongoing radio exposure at WSB, the record became a surprise bestseller, selling more than 500,000 copies, an astounding number in 1923. This shocked the executives at OK Records, who quickly realized that there was serious money to be made recording country music played by actual country folks. Ralph Peer invited Fiddlin' John Carson to New York to record more songs in the studios of OK Records. Just a year after Carson made history with his first hit record, the country music industry was already becoming big business. In Chicago, the National Barn Dance would begin broadcasting on WLS in 1924. By November of 1925, the new WSM radio station in Nashville launched its own country music show that would eventually become known as the Grand Ole Opry. The success and popularity of Fiddlin' John Carson triggered a talent search across the South that would eventually lead to the discovery of Jimmie Rodgers and the Carter family in 1927. That same year, Fiddlin' John Carson would win the Old Time Fiddlin' Championship for the 7th time, an achievement that brought him even more notoriety and record sales. He recorded many songs accompanied by his musical group, the Virginia Reelers, and John also recorded with his daughter, Rosalie Carson, who was known to audiences as Moonshine Kate. Fiddlin' John would go on to record at least 150 songs for the OK label. 2 of them, You Will Never Miss Your Mother Until She Is Gone, and Old Joe Clark, became million sellers and received gold record awards from the Recording Industry Association of America. Today, Fiddlin' John Carson is recognized as the original recording artist in country music history. His recording of the Will Hayes song, The Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane, has taken on a legendary status. It is recognized as the official beginning of the country music recording industry and the very first hit record in country music history. Carson was inducted into the Georgia Music Hall of Fame in 1984. His recording has also been recognized by the Recording Industry Association of America, who recognized Fiddlin' John Carson and his recording of the Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane when they were inducted into the Grammy Song Hall of Fame in 1998. The Atlanta Country Music Hall of Fame was founded by Fiddlin' John's grandson, Johnny Carson, and wife Phyllis Cole in honor of Fiddlin' John Carson and his musical accomplishments, which led to the country music industry we know today. Though Johnny passed away, Phyllis, along with a dedicated staff, have made it their mission to continue the musical legacy of Fiddlin' John Carson by honoring musicians, singers, songwriters, radio personalities, and industry professionals who have dedicated their time and talents to the wonderful business of country music, which began right here in Atlanta, Georgia, on a summer day in 1923.
Years ago, when Buddy Poway sang and song, was Mother Joe, and when our Father dear would leave us all alone, I can hear her voice so sweet as she sang, when shall we meet? You will never meet